with special needs? What does the society need to inculcate? What kind of culture do we need to have? How can the society in general be made that safe space that these children with special needs really need?
Okay. I think that we should start like, when they say tiny drops of water.
Absolutely.
Yes. We already have a society that's, there is minimum or no awareness at all. So what is special needs? What are the kinds of special needs we have? Do you understand? So when we have sensitized the society, the environment, and the community, and everyone has a knowledge, they're quite knowledgeable of what special needs are, then we cannot talk about inclusion, because what you're asking really is how individuals with special needs can be integrated into the community. That's pretty much what you're asking.
That's 100% correct.
That's inclusion. That's inclusion. But inclusion first comes from a place of awareness. When people are aware, then of course the government sets aside facilities to aid these individuals. Then we're talking about, then we get to accommodations are made for them, even in their worship centers and all that. And of course, the big one, empathy. It's only then that we can have an inclusive environment or society. Yes.
Just for the purpose of conversation and awareness, as you rightly stated, because that's actually very key. I'm glad you brought that up, because without awareness, it's like, without information, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to. I'm basically blind to the subject at hand.
And there will be a lot of myths, like things that are not quite facts. Yes.
And those need to be attacked. So let's just be clear on what special needs are, or let's put it together to say how when we say special needs children, what do we really mean? Since we're talking about caring for them.
Okay. When we say special needs children, I'll bring it down to special educational needs. What does that really mean? Because we all have special needs, really, because I might have a peculiar need or a peculiar craving that I just need to, a habit that I need to indulge in or something. Okay. But when it comes to education, we are talking about challenges, concerns of individual struggles that interrupts with learning, that becomes a barrier to learning, making those individuals not learn in the pace of their peers. Okay. You understand? Absolutely. They don't learn, like when we say learn, of course, no two people have the same capacity. Of course, no two people are exactly the same.
You're right.
But there's always a range of, okay, as a toddler, these are the things a toddler should know. These are the things. So there's always a range. They are the ones that are very smart. They are the ones that are average, But when this concerns or this impairment, because it could be an impairment, it could be a physical disability.
Okay.
That is like let's say a child that is visually impaired. Yes. Or a child that is not communicating, vocally communicating, for example. So you see that those kind of children, they would need some facilities put in place for them to learn better.
That's true.
And then we then talk about hidden disabilities. Hidden disabilities, it doesn't show. We're talking about children that have autism, ADHD, things that you cannot see. What are we going to put in place for them to learn? Because, of course, autism becomes a barrier to learning.
To the learning.
So yes. Special educational needs are those, when we classify someone as requiring support academically to help bridge the gap or the barriers, put down the barriers to learning. That's pretty much what special educational needs encompasses, I could say.
I'm glad we absolutely, because of time, we just have to sometimes just skim on the surface so that at least anyone listening will be able to get the most important things, which I think they've gotten from what you've just said so far. So, being that there's this educational gap that needs to be filled, what are some of the activities that can be included in the day-to-day life of a child who requires special needs, special educational needs, to be able to stimulate the way their brain develops and to be able to bridge that educational gap?
Okay, I'm enjoying this, and of course, these are very ambiguous questions. If you bring this kind of question in an exam, be rest assured, what direction? They're quite ambiguous. Yes,
you see some of these things.
Why I say
you're not really sure.
Why I say they're ambiguous, as in you cannot really tackle unless you have a direct case in the sense that those are individuals. Let's never forget that.
Absolutely.
And I've already established that no two individuals are the same. So I mean, take for example, so I would use a case study for me to be more direct.
Yes,
right?
Thank you.
Take for example, a child has dyslexia, for example. Dyslexia is when there is a struggle with language and
communication.
Not communication,
just the language.
Interpretation of language. When we say language, it's not necessarily English, because a child that speaks that is Italian can
also have dyslexia.
Dyslexic. A French kid can be dyslexic. So it has to do with the language per se, the way it's the way their brain processes language and reading, spelling, sounds, and all that.
All right.
So for a child with such a struggle, pretty much, I want to say easy peasy if you're aware. That individual, how would it, when it's established they have those concerns, how would they learn? What are the visual aids they need? What are the sound aids? Because you want to come from what we call a multi-sensory approach. What are the things that they need in the classroom that they have to see, they have to feel, they have to touch to help them learn? Do they need like an audiobook? Do they have to type during exams? So there's, differentiated learning. This is the ability of this child, and it doesn't make this child less intelligent. However, their learning is different. So what are those things that you put in the classroom for that child? Right?
Valid question.
It's exactly. So those are the things when you look, and it's very personalized and very individualized, because no two brains are the same.
That's true.
So you need to know who the individual is. You need to assess the individual, build a rapport with the individual. They know, okay, these are the gaps, these are the struggles. It's a lot deeper than
but
that.
In general, though.
Okay.
And I'm saying in general for the benefits of people who have special needs children and don't even know where to begin.
Okay.
For people that have literally no blueprint and they're just lost.
Yes.
So maybe you can mention maybe one or two general activities that can help in such a case to help their brain develop.
Okay. So I would give several case studies if that's fine. Like maybe in general, because autism is another example. Cerebral palsy, Down syndrome. But there's a universal law of love, right? We all respond to love. Love your child first and foremost. The gift God has given to you, that's a gift. Love your child. Look for what you have an intuition, or you're scared that there may be something wrong. Investigate further. Find out what exactly is wrong, and that's the only way you can get support. Find the right support for your special needs child. So when you find that out, okay, I have to love my child. This child likes music. Explore. Whether it is a special needs child or is a neurotypical child, explore strengths. Expose the child to music. Expose the child to arts. Expose the child to play. When you expose the child to different things, you see where the child starts leaning towards. That's to show you that activity comes easy to that child, and that activity can be the activity or the event that they are naturally skilled or gifted at. Start nurturing.
So that can stimulate their brain.
Absolutely.
And then you can use, because I'm asking now, can you use some of those interests to teach them education, to teach them math, English?
I've seen
how does that apply?
I've seen a lot of cases over a large number of cases where the child is non-vocal, so the child is not speaking words that make functional sense, And then as soon as the child starts playing the piano, learning to play the piano, this has happened close home and with a lot of other children. Then there is just this. I am not a what's the word? I'm not a neurologist. I'm
No
a behavior
problem.
analyst, so I'm sure a neurologist will explain this. There's just this connect between music and numbers, maths. So I mean, these children naturally, when they start with the music, before you know it, you see the maths numbers are just easier for these kids.
Okay.
And before you know it, a lot of times they become vocal. There's just that connect. That's why you need to look at the child's interest.
Interest.
When we talk about interest, that is part of inclusion. I cannot be advocating my ways for you if I'm advocating for you.
You're right.
So I'm advocating for you. I need to know you. What are your interests? What are the things you want us to do? So no matter how young the child is, you need to get to know the child's interest as well.
Okay. Thank you very much. I mean, I wish we had a lot more time to really dissect this, but we'll make do with what we have, and hopefully we hit the nail on the head.
Hopefully.
Absolutely. 19 minutes past 12 on Women Radio 91.7. This is still the big question, and today we're discussing caring for children with special needs. Caring for children with special needs. I'm here today with Osezusi Bolidioku, Special Educational Needs and Advanced Certified Autism Specialist. You can call in if you have any questions or you have any contributions. Call in to 07000 917 917. 07000 917 917. Also, you can send in text messages or WhatsApp messages to 0703 175 6537. 0703 175 6537. Now, parents and guardians of children with special needs go through a lot.
Absolutely.
Particularly because they know that the child needs more than the regular child out there.
Yes.
And sometimes they find it really hard. So what would you say are some ways that parents and guardians can be helped so as to cope with their children and to help, train their children better? How can they be helped? I need maybe about 2 ways.
I know.
Specifically.
Oh, I know, because this is just something that I wish we could, as a society or as a government, but I mean, we are the government, right? So special needs is very expensive. Caring for a child with special needs is extremely expensive. Once we know that, we also know that the income of the typical Nigerian, it's not easy. So I wish we had a situation where, of course, all this therapy could be subsidized, but hey, that's not the case. So as a parent, you cannot leave your child. You love your child, and that child is with you for a purpose, for a reason. What are the needs of your child? Okay, your child has cerebral palsy, for example. What do they need? Is it a wheelchair? Are they able to go out of the house to go to school? If they are, encourage that. Try as much as possible to expose your child. Don't keep them hidden. They are humans. They're human beings. They have feelings. Don't keep them hidden. If the child has autism, what is this child's sensory needs? When I say sensory, it's the way the brain processes the different senses, like the 7 senses. I know with some C5, but in behavioral, we know it's 7 different senses. And what are the sensory needs of this child? You can make do with, say, okay, there's this brush we use to brush the children. You don't have to go to the big supermarkets to get this brush. Anyway, you can what's the word? I'm looking for the word. Improvise. You can improvise. Research. Please, research. Not every therapy out there is for your child. What are the therapeutic needs? Is it physical therapy? And when you're doing a physical therapy, you know the target, you know the needs. Are you working on your fine gross motors? Research. No. When you go to see a specialist, get your questions ask you the right questions. So the therapists know that, or the specialists knows that you are aware and you're involved, because it's really expensive and it could be very frustrating. Meeting parents, seeing parents, I've been working with parents, crying. An easy place to be, but there is hope.
Definitely.
There's so much hope when you see what amazing things that those children grew up to become. There's so much hope.
I like the sound of that. Hope. I really do. Now, you were talking about the fact that the government also needs to step up. The government needs to play a role. You talked about being inclusive earlier.
Yes.
So what are some of the improvements that the government can implement towards fostering this inclusiveness of children with special needs in basic life activities?
I wish I could really just say it the way my heart feels. I wish so, but we already know that education is not something this particular government is not priority. It's definitely not priority. Perhaps.
Well, I recognize what you're trying to say, but to a large extent, we can only say that the government needs to do more. The government needs to do more.
So we can start by saying what I've seen that has been done by private individuals.
Okay, that that you think the government can apply?
Replicate. Okay. So I went to there's this church, King's Court, and they had diversity. They had Diversity Sunday. I was so happy to be part of that Diversity Sunday. You know why? We had people with different kinds of ability. They had access to the building. You didn't see someone carrying somebody on a wheelchair already in, because the what's it called?
Ramp.
The cramp. Yes,
the ramp. Yeah.
Ramp. That's what it's called. I knew that cramp didn't sound right.
That's okay. So there were ramps in the church that
there were ramps.
Okay.
There were visual. There were Bibles and brailles. There were different kinds of gadgets and equipment to help everybody. And to think that this was done by individuals, this is something that the government. This is not. It is not a necessity. It's not a luxury.
It's a luxury. It's not a luxury. It's more of a necessity.
All the schools, the primary schools, the elementary, preschools, secondary schools should have that. Then what is the right of those people? Do they know their rights? Like when we talk about even us individuals, do we know our rights? I think we can do a lot more though. That's why I always say that, yes, okay, we are the government. So we can actually do a lot more. I think that's all I want to say.
I know you want to say more. You made a point earlier, and I think I want you to just expand on that a bit.
Okay.
You talked about therapy to be subsidized. So what were you referring to when you said that?
What I'm referring to is my area of expertise. I am an applied behavior analyst. So I use the science of ABA to help support children with neurodevelopmental disorder. So ABA is the only scientifically proven therapy that has shown or that is known to make the changes we want to see in these individuals, right? ABA is talking about behavior. ABA is good standard. It is very expensive everywhere in the world. So what happens what's obtainable in all the nations, other countries, is the government would subsidize. Because imagine, let's take for example a state in the States. A state in the States.
Yes.
And to see a practitioner like me to work with your child, I would not charge that family less than $120 per hour. And I may have to work with that child for 20 hours. So you can in a week.
Absolutely.
In a week, or 16 hours in a week. So you can do the numbers. Likewise, because getting our license, I am internationally licensed. So getting those licenses, those certifications, they are very, very expensive ventures. So, I mean, that kind of standard, even the resources you work with the children with, everything you need, it is not something you just get by the roadside. So if the government could, because there are a few of us that are around, there are a few of us in Lagos that are well certified and well licensed to work with these children. However, not all the parents can come to us. I mean, I, for example, I'm far away in Lekki Phase 1, so not all of them can have access to me. But if the government subsidize, they will come. They will come,
Yes.
And I was talking about like health insurance, like, when I mean behavioral is on the, yes, it's clinical, it's behavioral health. Things like that. Parents would not be scared. And it would invariably reduce the stigma and also affect inclusion that we're talking about.
That's 100% true. And that inclusion is the goal at the end of the day.
At the end of the day. So, okay, inclusion. We want those children to be able to go to school, graduate from school, and have somewhere to work. How many offices do you know have an inclusive space? How many companies?
Not many, if we're being very honest. Absolutely not many. So, as we round off now, let me put this out there. A lot of these challenges that these children face with their special needs also affect these parents at the end of the day. So what is your advice to parents with special needs children to best keep their mental space in order, preserve their mental health?
I know.
So that they don't lose themselves and they don't lose strength. They don't get drained all the time while trying to pour into their children. So that's what we're rounding off with now. So we're rounding off very soon. So what's your advice? Because for me, that's very important. You can't give what you don't have.
Extremely so. And we get more cases than not of parents feeling guilty that they are most likely the cause of the situation of their child. But what if I have to say anything to anyone out there? It is not your fault. Never. It is not your fault. And we all have a place with God, no matter the religion, no matter, as long as you're not an atheist who believes in, we all believe in God, right? And God doesn't have grandchildren. Well, God's children. So your child is God's child.
True.
It's not easy. You get burnt out. Of course, you feel all the roller coaster of emotions at times. But never forget to rejoice at the small progress you see. Never forget to be appreciative at those tiny, tiny progress, because they're the progress that would add up to this individual that becomes independent at the end of the day, because that's the goal. You want your child to be independent. You want them to have adaptive skills. But those tiny progress, they can button their shirts today, they comb their hair tomorrow. Before you know it, your child would attain the independence that you are working so hard to get with your child. There is so much hope. There's so many people.
I'm very happy that you said that, and that's a really good message to parents out there. That's a really good message. Thank you very much, Osese. Thank you so much. This has been a very enlightening and very, very feeling episode. But I'm very glad that we got to have this conversation. This is very needed. Thank you once again.
You're most welcome. So glad I came. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Above all, it is important to remember that children with special needs are children first. So no matter the situation, these children should always be treated like children, like individuals. And to remember that they also have a lot of things in common with other children, even though they may not look like it at the very beginning. So they deserve a place where they feel physically comfortable, loved, and secure. And when the whole goal is to be independent and to be independent as a person, if that's the goal, then all you have to do is rejoice in the small wins, as our guest has rightly said, and know that eventually your child will get to that point. Thank you once again. Thank you to my guest once again, and thank you to you for being a part of the big question. Thank you to the producer, Esther Alaribe and Evelyn Joshua, for the support. Whatever the case is, please let's remember to continue to create awareness and to enlarge the conversation about special needs. Thank you very much. My name is Sumto Titilayo Ajama. Good afternoon.
To sponsor this program, call the number 0816 480